To kick off the discussion about this specific conference this year is a man who is a good friend of mine and is fast becoming a brother, Gordon Lewis of the Yavapai-Apache Nation, who is also known as Bright Star. He is a renowned, both national across the U.S. and internationally acclaimed artist whose paintings and carvings are in both public galleries and private homes across the country and across the world. And I'm honored to have Gordon join me to talk about this conference and how it's going to unfold and potentially how it'll affect people's lives. Gordon, thanks for joining me.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me.
You know, the reason for this conversation is simply to touch on some topics that are relevant to this upcoming conference, this very, very special event, and to, if you will, share some insight into the lives of some of the people who are artists that will either be speaking or presenting. So to honor this approach, would you mind telling both me and the people listening, what were some of the significant events early in your life that led you to pursuing art and to becoming an artist for your whole life? I mean, it's kind of defined you, certainly in these later years, but go ahead.
The curiosity of the whole understanding of heritage and how important it would be to keep those things in perspective and keep them going on. And when you draw it and you carve it, it's another way of preserving the culture. Because culturally, song and dance, art, and all these things are spiritual reinforcement. And not only the preservation of the language, the lands, what's available that we use in nature to make these artifacts and art pieces, if you will, come to life and give it us that three-dimensional sight of what we have in our minds and in our souls.
Yeah. And
that's one way to kind of sum that up.
So there's sort of a way to express life.
Absolutely.
In color and different form.
Right. Right. And what makes it more, I guess, grounded, you know, some musicians, they use electric instruments, some use pianos, whatever. But birds and bees, they make a different sound when they're in harmony. And us, we do it with the beat of the drum. It stands for everything that lives, and everything that has life has that beat. So we do it in the music and dances and preserve our cultural existence in those different forms and fashions.
Is that why the drum is so prevalent among the many native cultures? It's big. It's
right, but then you know the drum is not just local; it's universal. So many tribes in Africa, some in South America, everywhere use a type of drum that kind of like attaches them to their lands and to their spirituality. So yeah, sure. It's big in ours.
Yeah, and from what I understand, you know, the beat of the drum, certain frequencies, certain sounds, it's all to a great degree. It's about affecting the land, you know, communicating with the land, communicating with the plants, the trees, the insects, the birds, the animals. You know, it's all about, I guess, affecting life around us.
Right, and a part of the life, you know, anything that lives needs water.
Good point.
And a lot of drums universally don't have water in them. Ours do.
They do?
That's right. And so when they have water in them, that means they're alive.
Wow.
And that's why we use the water drums. That's why when we sing, there's a vibration inside from that water to the leather that elk or deer once had a life. And there's a whole big difference.
Yeah. Yeah, I wanted to comment briefly on hearing you sing. We were meeting with Bear Cloud earlier today, and you sang a song for Bear Cloud. It was like the whole gallery went silent when you were singing, because there's a certain effect that when the human voice brings forward song and vibration, it affects the area around it. It just made an impact on me.
It would if you're spiritually in tune. Now, a lot of people listen to music that are still not spiritually in tune. That's why you had different musics.
Yeah.
And some of those musics are sang for entertainment or are sang for a hook. Ours is sang for life. That's the difference.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I could hear the meaning, if you will, the impact of the sound, that it was sacred. It was meant to be sacred. You weren't just singing a song.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. And to circle back to this conference and others that I've done, I've always used the words, I feel blessed or I feel honored, and these are sacred events. And that's one of the reasons why I've always felt that it's important to bring people from the different nations into these events, because there's an understanding, an innate understanding of the land, the people, the sacredness of the birds and the wind and the sky and all that the Creator has made. And that especially during these difficult, challenging times, that people can use more of this. They will have the ability to integrate these into their lives. I remember seeing the expressions on people's faces and how touched they were last year when you were speaking, and when Stands with Bear was playing his flute, and when some of the younger people were singing and playing the drums. It's impactful.
Right.
Yeah.
Those songs, they're the root and the connection to the Creator. You can have a drum and not have the connection. There's a reason why the blues have the blues.
Well said.
So
Yeah.
that's why we do what we do. We're taught when we're little kids. And live that life.
Yeah.
Not just do it 1 week and forget it. You have to live it. You have to do the right things. You got to be at your best at all times, whether you're drawing a picture or cooking breakfast. You have to do 100% of everything that you do.
Yeah.
And when you do that, you're more awoke with those songs, with the life.
That's right.
It's not just art and song.
Yeah, and it's also because then our hearts are in alignment with our spirit,
Correct.
which is in alignment with the vibration of Creator and creation.
That's right.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Especially important to remember during these times.
And also remember that even though there's no vibration, there's still spirit. Because spirit doesn't have vibration. We do. The earth does.
Yeah.
But spirit is intangible.
Yeah, certainly it's the unknowing. For us in this vibrational realm, it's unknowing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, because we're physical.
Right. We can revere it and honor it, but we won't know it
until you know it.
Right. Until we're again in the spirit realm.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's the difference.
Yeah.
Because a person that's not alive doesn't mean he's not alive. And there's no vibration. There's a lot of lessons in this life way to understand the real essence of art and culture.
Yeah.
It lives through us. It has impact. And if we have a little bit of curiosity for the spiritual realm, we're going to be compelled to the art. We're going to be compelled to the drawings. We're going to be compelled to the songs. We feel good when we're around something good. Because once we allow ourselves a little bit of negativity, then we don't have any more positivity.
Yeah, good point. Good point. And these kind of human elements, human expressions, whether it's singing, dancing, playing the flute, playing the drums, pottery, carving, they're all expressions of human spirit coming through the heart, through the fingers, through the voice. So
absolutely, it's art is, it's the cultural spiritual connection, and it reinforces your mind and understanding. Some of the pieces may outlive you.
yeah.
You could do a piece that's going to live past your life. And so a part of you that when you finish a piece is gone, where you can never get the time back. It's gone.
Right.
But it's in that piece.
And at some point, like we discussed earlier, that piece at some moment becomes finished.
Right.
Which is when you let it go.
Right.
And then you can share it with the universe.
Right.
And or whatever individual sees that piece and goes, wow.
And the time that you took to do it, the talent was not wasted. So it's really has a lot of depth. Even though the art doesn't, to some people, might not look good, it doesn't have to be perfect, because to us in Native culture, nothing's perfect. And if it seems perfect, we'll do something to make it not perfect.
So that it looks like it's of nature.
Of course, well, not only that, is that like when the Navajo people weave rugs, they'll put a flaw in it.
Huh.
Because they don't want it to be perfect, because they'll never reach it, and they'll know that only thing's perfect is the Creator.
Yeah.
So nothing's perfect. A lot of people say, "Oh, I want a perfect life." Nothing's perfect.
No.
You have ups and downs, and good doesn't survive without bad.
Yeah, it's all the full spectrum of life.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. Listen, to circle back to the topic of the arts and this special event, this conference, when we were talking about the initial planning, some of the initial planning stages, we talked about some of the more, I guess, important aspects. And we had talked about the Apache crown dancers. And after, I don't know, some amount of time, a few days went by, you called me very excitedly and said, good news, I'm able to secure, at least famous in this country, the Apache crown dancers that will come for this event and express their form of artwork and dancing. Would you please share with me and with the people listening what they're all about, why they're so special, what kind of impact that they have on the earth and on people?
The impact of them is that when you talk about something like the crown dancers or anything that's really sacred, they don't do it as art. When you see their headdresses, people say, oh, that's really colorful, that's artistic. And they don't do it for the art part of it, because when they're done with regular rituals, they destroy the crowns. It's like a prayer today is not the same as yesterday's. The prayer tomorrow is not going to be the same as today. The same thing with the dance. So we don't do it, they don't do it for the applause or the how elaborate they may look to some people. And people only see it as the art part. But it's actually food and water for the soul.
Okay. So typically, are there 4 crown dancers or 5?
There's typically 4 and a clown, so altogether there's 5.
Okay.
Depending on what we're going to do, sometimes the clown doesn't come because he's not composed from the who's singing.
Okay.
And so it depends. It's his call, the main man in charge. So
are the other crown dancers? Are they typically people who are more, if you will, accomplished in life? Are they more mature because of their experiences, or does it matter?
It depends on how you define mature, because you could be 70 and still be a fool. So
True.
a 12-year-old kid can sometimes teach the parents something.
Sure.
So
Yeah, if that child is spiritually awakened.
exactly.
Right. Okay.
So
of course.
before they get behind that mask, they have to reach a certain plateau of understanding of what this is.
Yeah, okay. That's kind of what I meant. Yeah.
Right.
That makes sense.
Right.
Well, I'm looking because I've never experienced a crown dancer ceremony or dances. I'm really looking because you've told me about, I guess, the incredibly impactful experience that it leaves on the people who've watched it, who've been part of it. You know, it's. I'm looking forward to it. I really am.
That's why it's important to express what it is. So when you do see it, you'll have that same impact. You know, it'll be an impact on you because a lot of people are curious and are still in this country learning true spiritualism.
True.
You know,
True.
because we've been mentally incarcerated in a lot of ways to openness to certain things. So it will definitely be a incredible event. Yeah.
Heart-touching, spirit-moving, eye-opening, sort of all of those things.
That and more.
Yeah.
That and more.
And I'd like to make this point right now that it just sort of came to me as you were speaking. I guess one of the more, if you will, important aspects of this particular conference is that it's not a conference in a traditional sense, and yet it is, but it's not because in many ways, many of the painters, the artists, the carvers, the potters, the singers, the bird and feather dancers that will be there, for the ones that choose to, they will be expressing not only in form, but in speech and telling some of the stories that are behind these art forms. They'll be telling some of their own personal life stories. And it's those personal life stories from each of these native nations and each of these people that I hope will make for a very touching and I guess far-reaching conference in the lives of the people attending. So I want to thank you. I want to thank Ron Juan, also who's Quetzan of the Yavapai-Apache Nation, who's singers he will be bringing with him like he did in 2018, and all of those other artists. It's going to be an amazing, amazing event. Final thoughts from you before we sign off?
I really believe it's an opportunity. It's just not a conference. It's not just an art show.
Oh, good point. Thank you. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So there's a lot more to it. It'll be good to just at least witness seeing the crown dancers, because it's something that it's almost like a lifetime to wait to see these things. So they don't come out all the time.
Oh, good point. Right. It's only for very special occasions.
Yes.
And this was a special invite. And
yes, it's for healing.
Yeah.
And it's a medicinal, and that's the medicine only they can provide in the entire world.
Before we go, I do want to at least share this final thought with you. I believe it's a blessing, and as Gordon has said, here's another opportunity. All of these people, all of these talented people will be bringing with them their form of their art, whether it's painting, carving, pottery. For the musicians, they'll bring their CDs. So if you'd like to purchase and bring some of these items home with you, you'll be able to do that. That's A. B is that the first time ever, Gordon is going to be providing 3 of his pieces. Ron's people from the Yavapai-Apache Council will be likely providing some of their original art pieces, and we will be having a number of raffles to make available these unique pieces so that you can take some of these very high expressions of life on this planet home with you. And
Absolutely.
it's I think it's a really good addition to this special event to offer this opportunity to people to be able to take these expressions home,
Right.
when they might never have been able to do that.
Right. Because usually when you buy native art, it's always secondhand. It's from a store.
Or some expensive gallery.
Right.
Yeah.
And this way, you buy it from the artist yourself.
Yeah.
And the galleries can't express and describe to the fullest detail of what they made available if the artist, the original artist, is not there to walk you through what the art piece really is. So in this conference, you'll be able to talk with the artists and kind of pick their mind and learn something. So that's something itself to look forward to.
Yeah, yeah, and I certainly can't speak for every artist, but I'm sure many of them will be happy to put their signature to their pieces.
Right,
For
especially
people.
for the past 75, 80 years, the signature, because we weren't allowed to really read and write in the 20s and 30s to a certain degree, so a lot of them didn't know how to write. So a lot of old jewelry or a lot of pieces aren't signed. That doesn't mean they're not original. That means that they were given away sacredly in those days.
Wow.
And to them, they didn't really have those kind of names to sign anyway.
Yeah.
So nowadays, they can sign them.
It's signed.
And that makes somewhat of a difference.
Yeah, it creates a whole different level of meaning.
Absolutely.
Between the creator of that piece and the person who's receiving it.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
right.
It's sort of like a new bond.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, Gordon Lewis of the Yavapai-Apache people, thank you, my friend, for joining me today. I appreciate it.
Thank you very much for having me.
Yeah. And for all of you out there listening, I'll repeat this one last time. This year's conference is the 2021 WOPIDA, Native Cultural Gathering of Nations, focusing on the arts, singing, pottery, poetry, speakers, paintings, music, carvings of people from across 10 different native nations, and especially the Apache in their many form from this sacred land called Arizona. Wodakote, many blessings to you all.